Morning all. Enjoying a nice tea this morning. We're gonna do up some Light Cahills. So to start, you'll need some pretty white, almost white, but more of like a lot of people will term this as Cahill color, but like a very light cream. And we're gonna match the body to being just slightly darker than our tail material, so we're gonna be using this one. Morning, Ewaz. Doing up some Light Cahills this morning. Not sure why my camera's being so blown out, but it doesn't look horrible. Just gonna try and adjust it a hair here. Yeah, I think that's the best I can get. I don't know why it's being so blown out. I got the exposure just cranked right down to like -19, but it is what it is. It looks okay on my screen anyway, so hopefully it's okay for you guys as well. Just not sure why it's deciding to go all crazy. I'm gonna have to reset it probably. Alright, so we're gonna start in our thread base. I'm using quite a thick bobbin, but I'm going to use my thick bobbin's end as like a measure for the tie-off point. If yours is thinner, just do 2 bobbin lengths. And you want to give yourself a good amount of room there for the head. And we're going to start tying our thread back. We're going to stop just at the barb point there and give it about 3 or 4 wraps back just to secure everything in, and then get rid of our tag end. Hey Rob, good to have you in, mate. Sorry I missed your live there last night. Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear. I'm going to have to catch the hopefully you saved the VOD, man, so I can watch it. Oh, I kicked my camera. 1 second. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you saved the live there so we can watch it after. Okay, so you want to get just adjusting the color so we can get a little more accurate color. So it's a very, very light cream is what you're shooting for this fly. And the whole kind of point, there we go. So it's not quite a white. You can see that the card is white, so it's a little on the cream side. And the whole point to the fly is you want to have the, well, not the whole point, but the main theme anyway. You see that matches fairly well. The main theme is you're going from a very light tail all the way through to a slightly darker thorax and wings and everything like that. And just going more into that kind of yellowy cream color. The best feathers for this fly's tail material is going to be your side spay saddles. So if you have a saddle, the ones that are hanging off the side of the cape, all the way along the side of it, they're going to have the least amount of web. This particular feather, because it's got a bit of a twist in it, which is why I'm using it for tails, isn't the best example, but I'll grab another one here so you can see what you're looking for. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so this one here we're actually going to be using for hackle. But what you're looking for, and it's more important for these style of flies because these are your um, you can see here there's like a V shape in the middle of this feather, and it goes all the way up the rachis, but mainly right here you can see where it's more solid. That's called web, and you want to avoid the web for the tailing material. Oh, thanks, Rob. Don't worry, it'll take, it can sometimes mine take up to 3 days to process, depending how long you were live for. It's going to take a while. I'd say on average, like 3 to 6 hours is kind of normal if you're doing like an hour stream like I do. But some of my longer streams, yeah, they can take a while to process. It really depends how busy YouTube is, time of day that you publish it, and if you're newer doing lives and stuff, it doesn't really have a record of what you do, so it has to check for all the, you know, bad words and things it doesn't like and all that stuff. But yeah, it can take like up to a day to 3 days sometimes. So yeah, anyway, what you're looking for is you can see that this is called the web, this little triangle in the center here. And you want to get a feather where that is as small as possible. So you can see how it tapers off and almost basically disappears from here to the top. That's what you're looking for dry fly tailing material for this kind of fly. And when you bring it down, the barbs are nice and separated, and they're thin, but they have like almost like a glassy gloss, so they look almost like plastic. You're gonna find these more on the side of your cape. I don't have a cape handy, but you guys all know what a cape is shaped like, so. Yeah, it's don't feel bad. It might take it a day or two at the most, but I'd expect maybe later today they'll have it up. So that's why this one's kind of a bad example, because you see it's all kind of broken and twisted down there, but that's why I'm using it for tailing material, because I'm not using that part, so it don't matter. I like to try to use as much of the materials as I can, but it just made it bad for that explanation. So that's what you're looking for. You want to find a nice spay hackle that is what's going to allow you to get the tail material off. And the main reason is because that is going to make the tail material stick together, hence the name web. It's very webby. It's more like a hen feather. What I'm probably going to do here, just lightly wet my fingers and just draw this back without trying to muck it up too bad. Fortunately, like I said, this one's got a bad twist to it. There we go. That's what I want to see. There. Wow, you can really see how bad the twist is now. But that's what we're trying to do. I'm just pulling it back so I can see the fibers and try and get them out. You can see how nice and glossy and stiff the fibers are. So that'll make really nice dry fly tailing material. Even if it's damaged like this, it's all good. So I'm going to grab a bunch, hold them by the tips, and then pull the feather away from you. That'll keep your tips together. Well, for the most part. You see I pulled a couple out there. Your mileage may vary. And depending on the size of the fly that you're tying, or the size of the hook, will determine how kind of thick you need the tail to be. And we're going to do a full shank length, so that's going to be right here. And I'm going to start off with just a light loop wrap to keep it on top. Just check the way it's looking. Looks good. I don't want it up that high, so I'm going to move it back a bit. We're going to go right back to just a little past the hook barb. If you're tying barbless, that's fine. There we go. You can see I was pointing down a little bit on the last one. I just adjusted the wrap so that you can see if I let the tension off. So you do want to avoid too much of that downward. I'd rather have it going straight with the shank. So in this case, what I'm going to do is actually do a light wrap underneath. You can see I'm putting my thread across. Going to go up top here, and I need to keep this really taut and a good bit of tension on it, and then just 2 wraps to keep that tension built in. You can see that'll straighten it right out. So now that it's nice and straight with the hook shank. There we go. The thickness of your tail, I'm going to try and be a little sparse on this guy, but thickness of your tail is kind of a personal preference. This would be more than enough here to float the fly. One thing I like to do on mine, if I can manage it anyway, I try to, is you can see that the tail's webbed out, so it's fanned out like this way. That's a little flatter on that aspect. And that'll help it a little bit to catch the water surface and allow it to sit properly on the water. But the length of the shank for your tail will allow you to have the correct angle for the dry fly. So what you're looking for is the correct angle from here to where your hackle is going to be, and that'll allow it to either sit just where the bend of the hook is on the water, or have the hook just in the water, depending on your preference of how you like to fish that mark. But that's really what you're shooting for mechanically for the fly, to make sure that it's going to actually present correctly. We're going to tie in our wing first, just so we have a little bit more room. And I'm using this really nice, it's not bleached or dyed, it's actually, this is a natural wood duck, and it just happens to be, I have a little bag of this that I use for these flies that's a little bit on the lighter side from the natural. Natural is more, do I have any here? No. Yeah, it's a really old bag. I actually got this. This was actually from one of my first fly tying kits when I was like 8 years old. So I've had it for a good long while, and I saved them specifically for this pattern just because they're that. It's a really nice light. It's really hard to find them in this kind of even light color. When you get them dyed, they tend to have more of a kind of yellow lemony cast to them, and especially if you're getting like dyed mallard, which is probably more common to find. No worries, Rob. We'll be here to catch you on your break, hopefully. And thanks for subscribing, Piece 2. Appreciate that, man. Always good to have another person in our groupie here. So the main thing we want to do with this is we want to take the webby bits off. Like even this here on the bottom here is a little too webby for the wing. You can use that for other things. Yeah, these guys are old. Well, as old as I am almost. But you can still see they're still fine as long as you keep your feathers stored decently. They'll be good. You can see like there's no like rot or any. There's still lots of life left in this thing. The main thing for doing the wing for these is you want to. There's a technique called folding. So you want to take off. Good morning, Showfly. It's good to have you in, man. You want to take off a good chunk for either side, and you want to, preferably anyway, it's not like written in stone or anything, but you want to take some from one side and then some from the other, so your left side of your wing, your right side of your wing. If you have a larger feather, you can just take all from one side and just fold it up. it'll work fine. You're just going to end up with it not curving naturally as well as it could. But I think it'll make a lot more sense once I get this pulled out here. So typically you want to have the hook gap length. So you can see there, the part that I've separated is the length, the width of the hook gap. I guess we'll go width rather than length, but I'm gonna hold that really tightly between my fingers, grab the rachis end, and just pull away. Okay, now to prepare this, I'm going to actually try and do it backwards from what I normally do so you guys can see it a little better. But this is the nice part of the feathers up here. You can see it's got a bit of a cup to it. So the underside of the feather is towards me. And what we're going to do is just wet your fingers lightly. If you don't want to use your tongue, you can just use a little cup of water or a little wet cloth if you're doing a lot of these. And just push it through your fingers and have your fingers tapered down. And you just push it through your fingers, and it'll catch on the moisture and help you to fold it in half. If you don't want to do that, you can just go at it, jump into the danger zone, and just fold it in half for yourself. So there we go. Got one half done. It's folded either side. So now you have the good looking feather, or the good shiny looking part of the feather. You can see it's there. You can see a bit better of the fold there on the inside and the outside now. So we're just going to put that off to the side. That's going to be one side of the wing. Most of the time they stay folded for you. And we're going to do the same for this side. I'm going to have to go up quite a bit higher because this side's a little shorter. And yeah, I got some more web here. I'm going to have to, there's a lot less fiber on this side. That's usable, but that's okay. Every wing's a little different. If you have a cape of these and you're like super lucky and you somehow have a cape of wood duck, the feathers from the middle of the cape are going to work the best for you for doing wings like this because they're going to be more even on one side of the feather or the other. If you take a feather from the right side of the bird or left side of the bird, one side of the feathers, like this one, is going to be shorter and more curved to that direction that it was on the side of the bird. But if you can get them more from the like the middle of the breast of the cape, it'll be even on either side of the feather, so it does make matching up these wings a little easier for you, or quite a bit easier. Okay, so we'll call that about as good as it's going to get. Pull it off. And that is all the feather I had, so that is going to have to do for that side. And I'm just folding it like we did the other. You see it makes a really nice kind of flared out end on it too. Okay, just like so. And we're gonna, the tricky part is doing this all with, while filming it. Oh. 1 second, my other one popped apart on me. I'm gonna have to refold this one. Of course, it is easier to do this and not have to explain the whole process at the same time. But it's all good, that's what we're here for. Biggest thing is you don't want it to kind of cup in the middle. You want to have it as close to actually folding in half as you can get it. And this one's oddly fighting me because it was folded nicely. Come on, buddy. There you go. Come on, you want to become a nice wing, don't you? But yeah, that's what you're shooting for there. So the one side is going to be a little bit heavier than the other, but that's perfectly fine. Now, if you look at these, they're going to have a very slight taper to them. No worries. But you can see there's a slight curve to it. So you want to have the two curves transposed so you get a wing out each side. So we're going to put these two curved sides together. This is by far not an exact science, nor will it be anywhere close to the same every time you do this, because every feather is going to be different. But that's what we're shooting for, right there. And you're always going to have a slight taper. It's kind of hard to see on the ends, but one side of your ends is always going to be a little lighter than the other. And it's generally better to keep the lighter side. You can see, hopefully, it's a little bit lighter on this side of the feather here than that. Keep those down towards the hook if you can, if the bends all are playing in your favor. But that's what we're shooting for. That's our wing. So we want to tie this in a little longer than you'd expect to. So we're going to go basically the whole gap height of the shank length up, because our hackle's going to be a little bit longer than the barb here, and we want this to be sticking down. So if we go for the whole shank length, again, depends a little bit on your hook shank, but in mine it seems to work out well that way. But just check your hook if every brand's a little different. But you can see if we go down for the whole shank length, it's going to be just past where the hackle goes. So we want our tips to be sticking up through the hackle. You're going to lose a little bit as you fold it back too, so you want to go a shank length and then have the tips passing the eye like mine are, just about a bodkin width or so, to take up that little bit that you're going to lose from tying it in. Now I like to try and get these separated just a little. Buggering up my tail a little bit there. Okay, so you want to get these separated, just really trying not to bang my tail. Okay, you want to get these separated just a little bit, so I'm pushing this through the hook so that it's a little bit on either side of the shank. Doesn't have to be a huge amount, but just it helps to keep it separated when you're going to tie it in. And actually, I need to, first things first, I need to get my thread in the right position. We want to do it right where we ended our line there. Try that again. So I'm just going to push this down. That'll help keep it separated. And then just kind of angle it back up a little bit. And we're going to do a soft wrap to start. And then just pulling it straight down, and that should keep it right on top of the hook. And trying not to over torque it when we're wrapping this in, and it should keep it right there. Can adjust it slightly if we need to. There we go. And then we're going to wrap it back a good 5 or 6 turns, because you don't want to lose it. There we go. So you should have that nice poof out the front. There should be a little bit, you can see there's a separation there between the two. You don't have to worry if they look like wings yet, but you just want to make sure that separation's there, and they didn't, as you were wrapping them, they didn't just kind of fold together and get stuck, because they will do that sometimes. You can fix it after, but it's just easier to keep it together. Because at that point you could unwrap it and try again. If you go a bit farther, it's probably not going to work for you. So we're going to bring the thread back up to just in front, getting a couple wraps. That'll keep our tension there, and then I'm going to lift these up and pull them back by the base. So the base is as far back as it's going to go. I'm just going to get about 5 or 6 wraps in front here. Hey, how's it going? And that should stand our wings up. Just like so. And those look money. Look at those. If you're having trouble with your wings, I don't like to. There's plenty of tires that do. It's just a personal preference. You can throw a figure 8 through that. Just one line of thread will stop them from coming together. I find as long as you do the preparation where you're folding the wings and you have a nice feather that has a bit of a curve to it like this does, then that's, in my opinion, that's fine. That's excellent little wings up front. I'm gonna throw just 1 or 2 more wraps to try and stand that up just a hair more. But I'm really happy with that all told. There we go, that's much better. Caught my line on a burr there on my thumb, so I'm just gonna get rid of those little fibers. They're not gonna do anything, but they're gonna annoy me, so they're gonna go away for now. Okay, the next part that's important to get this, the body created correctly, or the shape of the body in any event, is you want to take your waste material from your wing, and you want to cut it down on a 45. So we're gonna put on a 45, cut 45 the other way, and that'll leave us with that lump like that. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us very slightly to build a slight taper there. Traditionally, you would be dubbing this body. In my case, I'm just going to be using a wool yarn. Hey, thanks for subscribing. Jighead Jones. That's a cool name, man. I like that. Thanks for becoming part of our little troop here. I thoroughly appreciate the support, mate. And we're just going to lightly tie that down like so. There you go. Okay. Okay. And we're going to go back up. I'm just trying to fill in any gaps. It's not as necessary, because I am going to be covering it with wool, and that will cover most of the gaps, but we don't want anything terribly unsightly. I'm going to just make this gap into the thorax a little less pronounced. And your mileage may vary. Oh, cool. I love that kind of stuff. I love bait making. Surprised I haven't run into you at this point, to be honest. I will definitely check out your channel, though, for sure. Hey, Valhalla. Okay, so for the body, like I was saying, we're just going to tie in, it's a punch card wool, number 12. The camera is still a little blown out. That's probably closer to the color you can see there. So we're going for just a slight off color from whatever your tail material is going to be. Oh, that's all good, mate. We all start with 1 sub, or 0 subs, depending how it goes. Yeah, if you break 500, you're doing good. The first 150 are the hardest. The next 500's almost equally as hard. And then once you get 500, then you gotta work your butt off to get the 1,000, and you're on your way. Yeah, if you made 500, there's nothing stopping you from getting 1,000. Okay, so you can see there's a little bit of a lump here from where we went to tie in our hackle our wing casing. So that basically makes our thorax. So now we're going to tie this in from that point back, and that'll fill this little kind of divot in there and give us a nice even body. If you're dubbing, you don't have to worry about that. Oh, I know, everyone, the whole fishing community slows down during the winter. That's okay, it gives us energy for the spring. Okay, so we got that tied in. I'm just going to bring this back. I want to leave a little bit of room here for my thread wraps for the hackle. So I'm going to stop right about there. So basically about a bodkin. I want to be able to get 3 wraps of hackle in here before the wing. So yeah, a little more than a bodkin width will be perfectly fine for you. I'm going to hand wrap this because I don't want to have to throw a half hitch on my bobbin, but that won't cause any issues. Traditionally, this would be a very thin dubbing noodle, but this punch card wool ends up making a very nice and slightly segmented body that I quite like for these. If you have any Fentex or Antron or whatever, that makes an excellent substitute for the body as well because it helps with the floating. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way down. You see it's going to make a very even body and not have much of that taper that we're talking about. So then we're going to go back again, and when we're going back here, actually muck that up, just let me redo that. Okay, so we want to do 1 full wrap right at the neck there. We'll call it the neck, but the shoulder, right before the thorax, or right at the start of the thorax. And we're gonna wrap this back. We're gonna leave a space in between each wrap, so we're doing like a half wrap, a little space in between, because when we're going back again, I'm gonna go up to the 3rd mark like that, and now on our way back, we're gonna go into those spaces that we created, so we end up with 1 layer there instead of 2. And that'll give us a much nicer, cleaner gauge on the thorax. You can see it gives you a nice slow taper up and then a flat spot, which will be much more, it just gives you a much more realistic body shape. If you wrap back and then forward again, you're going to end up with and you completely cover it each way, you'll end up with a lot more of a step there. You'll end up with like a square lump and then a drop. Now if you're using dubbing, which is the traditional way for this pattern, and I could easily just, grind this up in a coffee grinder and make some dubbing out of it and go at it that way. You just want to change your thickness of your dubbing as you're going over. So you start off with a nice thin pencil dubbing, and then just as it goes down your dubbing loop, just make it thicker and thicker and thicker. And not crazy thicker, but just that little bit extra will give you that nice taper. Okay. If you have some really nice, like light cream color, almost like a Cree hackle, you can use that for this. In my case, I'm going to be using let's see which one of these is the nicest. It's actually a Badger, which is not the traditional hackle for this, but this Badger is so light. You can see like it just has a very light strip down one side. So it's just going to have a very, very minute dark patch when I wrap it up, which I think is going to actually look really good. So here's another one from the same one. You can tell we want to start right around where the web is starting here, and we want our first couple wraps to kind of finish up on that little tip of the web. So you can see that little triangle in the middle. So we're going to be starting about here. Now our first couple wraps will end about there. And what we want to do is measure this so that the points are coming down. This one's going to be a little on the long side. This guy here should be the right length. Yeah, that looks good. So you want your tips to be about a shank or a gap height and about a half. So yeah, that's probably just a hair. Let's try this one. That one might be just a hair long as well. These are the ones I got to play with, so we're gonna make one of these work. There we go. Okay, this one's a lot better. So you want to make it, you can see there it's about a gap height and a half. This one might actually be a hair on the short side. No, I think it's okay. It does have a it does have like a crazy kink to it there, but we're only using the top half, so don't judge the poor guy. I'm sure he got pecked out of there. Welcome back, Rob. If you're on break, and hopefully you can enjoy your break, we're gonna get the hackling part going here. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut off the base. We don't need that. There's not even really much I could save for tails or anything out of that, so that's gonna get tossed. Now what we want to do with this guy, I want to have the shiny side of the feather, so you guys have the dull side now. You can see the shiny side has a little bit of a darker cast to it. That's what we want to do, is we want to keep this theme of going from a really light tail slowly up to like a darker head. And we're going to strip off a little more on the one side than the other, so the top side in this case. Just like that. And we want to leave a little tip. Now, depending on your saddle, there's a few things you can do. If you're finding that they're slipping and you're pulling them out, or they're slipping on you, these ones aren't bad, so I'm not going to have to worry too much about it, but every saddle's different. You can take a pair of hemostats with teeth on them and just give it a little, just a light crunch on the rachis there, just on the tip. Don't have to do anything crazy, just a little light crunch, and that's going to leave little jagged teeth on there to stop it from sliding out as bad. Hey, how's it going? Good to have you in, Matt. That'll leave just, they're probably not going to show up on the camera because my exposure is a little bit out of whack today. I'm going to have to adjust that. But you can trust me, there's some little teeth left in there from the mark. The other thing you can do is, instead of pulling the rachis or pulling the barbs off, you can just cut them. And it'll leave like a little bit of a teeth structure, almost like Velcro. That'll help hold it in as well. But in this case, we don't need to worry about it, so I'm just going to tie that in. I like to leave the rachis pointing down and to the front of the hook here, so that I get wraps on the whole thing holding it in. That'll also give me a chance here as I'm going back just to clean up any thread imperfections in my wrap, so that it's not, I can have a nice even wrap. Okay, and we're going to leave this thread just up from the hook eye there, so that's right at the point where we're going to try and tie this off. Now the reason we pulled that little bit off at the top of this hackle is with the first wrap and a half or so that we want to do, we want to have it on a bare rachis so we can get everything set up nice. I'm going to attempt to use the rotary hackle, and all of our regulars know how much I fight with this thing sometimes, but we're going to go for it. It's a tool that I want to love, but it just seems to cause trouble at times. Hey Cerebus, good to have you in, mate. So we want to get at least 3 wraps on the rear here. One really good wrap. I'm doing 2 good wraps at the back because the first one just didn't sit exactly where I wanted it to sit. I'm going to cross it over. You'll want to try and keep your wraps going back to front, however, don't need to do that crossover. So there we got our 3 wraps on the back, and I'm going to go for 2 in the front. Do still have that fuzz sticking out there. There we go. And I'm just going to pin these wings back a bit, and we want that first wrap to come just right in front of those wings. Beauty. Okay. That'll also help to keep them in place while you're casting and such. Okay, then we get our second wrap up front. Just pushing the fibers out of the way here. I think that's all we're going to get from her. Might be able to get one more if I pull this out. 1 second here. I'm gonna try and just get the tip here and see if I can get one more wrap out of this. Yeah, I think I can. Oop, 1 second, it slipped. Really, buddy? Come on now. You want to become some nice hackle? Don't go jumping around on me. Beauty. Okay, we did get a few more fibers in there. So I got it caught in now. I'm going to pull this back. Try and save those few fibers that are sticking forward. They're going to play ball today. Up, and then 2 wraps behind. I'll go 3 for good measure. Okay. And then we're going to do a half hitch before we cut that off. And just pop this back a bit, and that'll pin back those extra fibers that are pointing forward a bit. Try that one more time. Well, my half hitch tool is quite long enough to make it. There we go. Yeah, that worked out well. Come on, thread, behave yourself. There we go. Hey, that's a Light Cahill. I'm just going to clean this up now. Very reminiscent of a lot of Catskill dry flies. I don't fish this one as much. It's still really popular up here. We just don't have a lot of light colored hatches up north here. A lot of stuff will be a light brown, dark brown. There we go. Yeah, I'm just going to lightly pull this back and make a little thread head there, and we're going to color it up. Excuse me, I'm going to get my yellow orangey Sharpie marker here. If I can find it. 1 second. Excuse me. This one's a little more on the yellow side than the one I was looking for. Let me grab my other pen set here. Dropping everything everywhere. Sorry guys, I think I bumped camera. There we go. So yeah, the color we're looking for is this kind of almost like a squash yellow. So, like that. We want to do that on the line that we're making our head with. Just gonna try not to hit the hackle. And the rest will kind of bleed through. And I might need to add a little bit to where we're doing our half hitch, but that's pretty much all you need right there. We're just gonna make a very, very light color change on the head. Just gonna pin this back really gently so we don't interrupt our wings too much. You can see there that we got a nice orange head. Yeah, like this does represent, there is a type of mayfly that hatches out that looks just like this, but it's more in the central eastern kind of United States, so we don't really get those hatches up here up north. I'm just gonna add a little bit more here for the half hitch, or for the whip finish. We'll do a half hitch here anyway before we start the whip finish. And they have like this kind of pumpkin shaped, or it's more of like a squash. It's showing up quite orange on there, but I know, always happens. I need to actually spend a day and just reorganize stuff, and I love reorganizing the stuff, but it's actually just taking the time to do it when you got everything else going on, right? Okay, so we're gonna do that. Get our thread wrapped all the way back again. There, beauty. That worked out real well. Oh, come on, man. Got one hair just decided to jump in there. Come on now. There we go. Beauty. Okay, I like them like that with a little, like I said, I do fish these. We don't have hatches that represent these, but they still do fish really well. Especially on like bright sunny days, like right in the middle of summer. But the hatches we have, like the lightest that I've ever seen is like the darkest shade on this whole fly. So this would be very light compared to what we get up here. But there are definitely whole sections of the US that fill up with these things. So definitely good to have them in your box in any case. And sometimes having something, like you said, that's just a little bit different than everything else that's jumping in the water is going to make that difference to get a strike for you. So we'll consider him the albino version of all of his friends. There we go. We got our wings sticking through like we wanted, just above. Yeah, thanks. There's always one. I mean, there's always one that just pops in there, right? There you go. That's a Light Cahill. I'm going to throw a little bit of head cement on them. I'm going to go up or down there. Down a little bit. That's a little better. Yeah, that's a Light Cahill. Very, very classic pattern. I wouldn't say the materials are really hard to come by. Probably the hardest part of the material to come by is going to be the wood duck. But you can sub that wood duck for just mallard. It doesn't have to be that yellow color. You can actually dye. I've done it numerous times. You can dye your mallard as long as you clean it first. So you want to clean it with just some regular Dawn dish soap and just let them soak in that for not a whole long. It doesn't have to be a long time, but say 5-10 minutes. And that'll strip off the natural oil so that the dye will take well. And then just pour in some diluted like Pico tea. You want to rinse out all the soap water, of course, first, and just have some fresh water, and then let it soak in some Pico tea for a little bit. And you'll have to play with the timing on it because every tea pack is going to be a little different. But you can dye it by just having it soak in the tea like that for about 10 or 15 minutes. And you'll end up with that nice kind of light brown cream tan kind of color. But again, it's really hard to get this specific color, so that's why I kept that one bag. Do I have my thing? Yeah, here, I'll show you guys. 1 second. Yeah, so this is your common mallard flank dyed wood duck, like commercial grade stuff. And you'll see that how much darker it is, like, and it's more of a, it's hard to put your finger on, but it's definitely more yellow, and it's definitely more, it's not quite like the wood duck. It's really close, but you may be able to get a better match with just dyeing some mallard with some Earl Grey tea. And you can have some tea at the same time. But this will be your natural wood duck here, or mallard. So you can see how light it is. So we want to go from this lightness to this color here. And just a few minutes and some tea will do that for you. If you use box dye, it'll end up like that first package I showed you, where it's almost too vibrant, right? Like it's just a little, the color soaks into everything, and it's just a little much. But the stuff I'm using right today is actually just natural, a nice light colored natural wood duck. It's not dyed, but it's really hard to come by, at least in my experience. So if you're having trouble finding it, feel free to attempt to dye some of your own, because the regular mallard is easy to come by. Pretty much every fly shop's going to have a bag of that kicking around. Or if you know any hunters, then obviously they're going to probably go after mallards quite frequently. Alright, so there's a Light Cahill. I'm just going to do a quick spin and spiel here, and then we'll let that head cement dry. Still got one fiber that's kind of just doing his own thing over here. Come on, buddy. I don't want to take you out. I want you to be part of the fly. Just fix yourself. Thank you. There we go. So yeah, fun, like, easy pattern. Like once you get all the angles down and building the body up like we went over, this is the important part here, is you want that angle so that the tips of your hackle line up with the tips of your tail, lines up with the curve on the shank of the hook. Oh, that's cool. The nice thing about like the mallard breast feathers is he can just, grab handfuls of it and just throw it in a bag. He doesn't have to like worry about the skin or anything, right? So but yeah, we'll do our spin and spiel here, and then we'll enjoy some tea. Actually, I'm gonna enjoy some tea first because my throat's starting to go on me. Got some nice Earl Grey this morning. Yeah, looks like we got at least 3 new subscribers this stream, so that's awesome. Always good to have new members to the pack. And the vise today, we have a Light Cahill. This is tied with some really nice light spay hackle feathers out the back for the tail. You want to have them the length of the shank or the body. And then you have wool punch card number 12, which is just a light cream color wool all the way up the body with a little bit thicker area in the thorax. Now you can also use dubbing. That would be the classical way to tie the fly up. And for the hackle at the front, we have a nice light cream colored, it's actually a badger hackle, just a really light badger, and some wood duck for the wings up top that are separated out. Wonderful little pattern. This is a really common pattern to use in the summer for the central eastern part of the United States, where these light mayflies will hatch and just go all over the place in huge hatches. So definitely a good thing to have for that time of year. But it's fished all up and down the North America, including up here in the north. Wonderful little pattern. Should definitely have a couple of these in your box for those mayfly hatches in the middle of summer. Thank you kindly. Have a good day. Got Rob jumping all over the place. You want me to spawn you another star there, Rob? Give me a second. Let's give you guys some stars to jump at. There you be. So yeah, wonderful little fly. You definitely don't need to color the head there. I like to color the heads on mine. I think that if you look at pictures of the mayfly that these are representing, they have a slightly yellow. This one actually went a little bit. I went a little dark on the orange side of it, but I was shooting for this kind of like, well, it says fresh yellow, or does it say fresh yellow? Yeah, fresh yellow. But it's kind of like a squash, the inside of a peanut butter or peanut butter, butternut squash is kind of the color that you're going for. It darkened up a little bit on me when I put in the head cement and whatnot. But either way, still like it like that. But you can feel free to just keep it light head if you wanted to. You can just use your white thread up there. You can even use a more yellow color. You just want to have a differentiated, slightly darker shade for your head than the rest of your body. The whole point of, or not the whole point of the fly, but the idea is the. Oh, good. Yeah, you told me you got the pheasant hunt. That's awesome. Like obviously, like a pheasant, the whole you can use every feather on a whole pheasant skin. There's nothing that's gonna go to waste with that. And of course, the tails are the prized part, but like the church windows up around the back and the neck, the shoulder flank feathers are really useful for all sorts of different things. And of course, the rump feathers. Aw. That's cool that Vilgrim sent you some feathers, though. I've sent him some of our my chicken's feathers too. But Vilgrims is a great guy, so I'm glad he was able to send you some. That's great. Okay, so we'll just chat here and have tea for a bit, wrap things up. So if anyone has any comments, concerns, accusations, feel free to shoot them out there. Well, this is a really good pattern to practice learning kind of catskill style dry flies. Then you can start moving into the ribbed and the bodies, which I think we're going to do some of those tomorrow. So similar style fly, but instead of the dub body, we'll be doing a turkey biot rib. Kind of. Yeah, I like to have a book. Here, let me get. My bad. Yeah, this is the one I'm kind of tying through now. Whoop. See if I can get it back far enough. And it's not so much that I need the book for the tying at all. It's that, you wake up at like 3 in the morning and you got to pick a pattern to tie. And this keeps me focused on a bit of a path and some, a little more structure and meaning towards, what I'm tying every day. Especially since I'm tying like every day. And it gets me practice into flies that I wouldn't. So this was the one that we did. There's the one in the book, and there's mine. So pretty good. I guess his hackle up front's a little darker, but is what it is. That's the hackle I had to work with. But there's Light Cahill. But yeah, I find working with the books, it just gives me a little better structure for the live streams. Well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's always good to have a book for reference for things too, and it a lot of times too, I'll forget like maybe a proportion on a fly or how far back something is. And it's good to just have those images to help wrap your brain around. Like even if I've tied something 100 times and it's just like, wait, do I do the wing before I do the, and then you can look and just see quick. Because, after thousands of patterns, sometimes they kind of run together a bit for sure. I don't expect anyone to completely memorize all that. Not that you really need to memorize the patterns either way, right? Like it's whatever works for you. Like there's no fly tying cops that are gonna come pull you over because you tied a pattern slightly differently. But I do enjoy, when I first started doing this, I just started tying like whatever I felt like, and there were definitely mornings where, I'd wake up, or evenings, or I'd get ready to tie, and it's like, do I want to tie nymphs? Do I want to tie a dry fly? Oh, maybe I want to do a streamer. Oh, I don't have those hooks ready. It was just kind of hard to get motivated on one specific pattern because my brain's just kind of going all over. So this has been really helpful for me to just keep a steady flow through, a little more consistency, and it also gives me patterns that I would have never thought to tie, or I knew about but I haven't tied before. So this is really helping my tying journey as well. Yeah, this is helping my tie. Oh, all the time. Like 90% of what I do here, I literally just look at the picture in the book. Like the last whole book, this last whole year almost of tying that we did on the lives, I was using patterns from a book, but it literally just had the picture and like a little block of text for what the materials were for each fly, and that was it. I rarely actually look at the steps. I'll look at the steps if they're there more for like the order that it's done in. But 90% of the time I'm just tying by an image and then using my brain to figure out the process that it was put together. And you'll definitely get to that point where you can do that after you've done, hundreds of different patterns and thousands of flies. You kind of figure out the order that things are generally put together. And sometimes I muck it up, and sometimes I do things in the wrong order or different order. But again, there's no fly tying cops, so thankfully, I probably would have got tickets by now. Oh, that's good tea. But yeah, I like the books just for my own kind of ADHD brain. And like it gives me like, and I really like the old vintage patterns, like these guys here. Oh, there's just a wad of them on this. But these are flax, and they're really similar to, they're tied by Audrey Joy. I'll pull them apart a bit so you can see a little better. And they're like a precursor to the stimulator. And I would have never thought of tying these patterns because I would have just, well, that's basically a stimulator. I may as well just tie a stimulator. But I like to go through all these vintage patterns and tie up a whack of them like this for each one, because it teaches me that process that those tires and other tires went through to get to kind of where we are today with more modern patterns like stimulator and that kind of thing. So I can tell by tying that, some of the thought process and everything that Audrey was probably going through to create that pattern, and then apply that to other patterns and make my own and that kind of thing. So going through the books has been really good that way. Yeah, there you go, Rob. Told you it would come in. Yeah, you'll start seeing, it's kind of a weird process. Like it'll come in kind of as the live was going, like it'll process it. So you'll start seeing parts of the first part of your live coming in. And stats are the same way. Don't look at your stats for like at least several hours, if not a day, because the stats are generally pretty slow on the mark. So don't worry about it. I'm probably going to do a few more of these later because I got enough material for them. So I'll leave my material out, but that's it for me. Like I said, I got a few kids with a bad, we just got over a flu and now they brought a cold home, so yay for the plague coming into the home again. So So I'm gonna get up here, make them some breakfast, take temperatures, do the dad thing, and get on with my day. But thanks for dropping in, everyone. We got our nice Light Cahill done up. And I just want to thank everyone for stopping in. Thanks for all your support, Rob. Ewaz. I like the stats. Like just the number thing is just part of my um, analytical brain. There's our little Light Cahill in there. You guys all have a good one. Thanks, Valhalla. Thanks, Rob. Who do we get? Victoria. Trudge. I know I'm missing a bunch of people here. Cerberus. Oh, we had a good bit of people in today. Jighead Jones is new. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow. You guys too. Enjoy. Thanks kindly.